Chapter 361. Take him down for me, I want him alive. With Yen Yiwen's command, the three male cultivators at the peak of Foundation establishment urged their flying swords to slash at Songwen. At the same time, one of them activated a shield, blocking the four of them, however, unexpectedly. The soul-splitting blade was merely a feint. It was still 10 zhang away from the four when it suddenly made a sharp turn and swept down into the forest below. Songwen did the same, his figure suddenly plunging down toward the trees. The three flying swords followed closely but were all blocked by the profound earth treasure pagoda. Under the impact of the flying swords, Songwen's escape speed actually increased, and in the blink of an eye he vanished into the trees. Chase. Yen Yiwen gritted her teeth. She had been lying in ambush outside the Beastmaster sect for 2 years, and after finally waiting for Songwen to emerge from the sect, how could she let him escape so easily? The four quickly plunged into the forest below. At that moment, Yen Yiwen was shocked to discover that a large amount of lightning was surging from the Ji-in ahead, rapidly increasing its speed and creating distance between them. Thunder escape technique. This Ji-in is actually a genius in thunder law. Staring at Songwen's figure growing farther away, Yen Yiwen's beautiful eyes seemed to burn with raging anger. She absolutely could not allow her nemesis, Ji-in, to escape from her hands. You all go after him, don't worry about me. Yen Yiwen commanded angrily. Among the four, she had the lowest cultivation level and the slowest escape technique. Being in the territory of the righteous path, the three peak Foundation establishment male cultivators did not activate their escape techniques to the fullest to protect her from being left alone. Miss, what about your safety? One male cultivator asked worriedly. Don't worry about me, what you need to do is capture Ji-in alive, Yen Yiwen instructed. Understood. As soon as her words fell, the three peak Foundation establishment male cultivators suddenly dashed out. Yen Yiwen wore a pair of blue boots. The boots emitted bursts of blue light, and Yen Yiwen's speed suddenly increased significantly, allowing her to barely keep up with the others ahead without falling too far behind. Songwen, escaping ahead, occasionally glanced back at the positions of the four pursuers, controlling his escape speed so that they wouldn't catch up. In the chase, both sides quickly covered a distance of over 1,000 miles and arrived at a place with sparse spiritual energy. Suddenly, a canyon appeared before Songwen. He leaped down the cliff and fell toward the depths of the canyon. The canyon was deep and narrow, and at its bottom lay a rushing torrent. Songwen hovered above the river surface, stopping his escape light, and stood in the air, sword in hand. This place was nearly 2,000 miles from the Beastmaster sect. The surrounding spiritual energy was sparse, and it was a desolate area where humans rarely ventured, a good place for murder. The three male cultivators who closely followed Songwen saw him suddenly stop his escape light and, without thinking, activated their flying swords to attack him. Under the encirclement of the three, Songwen was struggling to cope and appeared quite flustered. Had it not been for the protection of the profound earth treasure pagoda, he would have already died beneath their sword lights. Despite delaying for Yen Yiwen to arrive, the three still hadn't captured Songwen. Seeing Songwen besieged by her three subordinates, Yen Yiwen felt a wave of satisfaction. He looked like he couldn't hold on much longer. With a fierce expression, a bloodthirsty smile appeared on her face. Ji-in, you sure can run, but let's see where you can escape to. Like Yen Yiwen, a smile also crept onto Songwen's face. Finally, we are together. It's not in vain that I waited for you this long. Yen Yiwen's expression changed abruptly upon hearing this. What do you mean by that? Before she could finish her words, Songwen let out a low growl. Great cave thunder, descend. In the sky, the wind and rain suddenly changed. A bolt of lightning the thickness of a tree trunk broke through the dark clouds, crossing the vast expanse, and fell toward one of the peak Foundation establishment cultivators. After Songwen advanced to the peak of Foundation establishment, the power of his thunder law significantly increased. The blinding lightning illuminated the canyon, which had long been shrouded in darkness. It resembled the thunder of annihilation, carrying the might to split mountains and shatter rocks. The male cultivator, locked onto by the lightning, felt the terrifying pressure of the thunder and turned pale, urgently urging his flying sword to strike at the lightning. He didn't forget to shout loudly, "Help me." Before his words fell, two flying swords shot into the sky. The three flying swords formed a shape, meeting the descending lightning. Boom. The thunder and swords clashed. The lightning poured down like a silver waterfall. The sword light surged up like a dragon leaping through the gate. Before the great cave thunder and the three flying swords could determine the outcome, Songwen condensed 3 thunder spears over a zhang long and shot them at the 3 men. In that instant, a cold light flashed, and the soul-splitting blade flew out, slashing toward Yan Yiwen behind. The 3 Peak Foundation establishment male cultivators each deployed their techniques to successively counter the Great Cave Thunder and the Thunder Spears. Yan Yiwen, however, was not so lucky. She first summoned a shield to protect herself, but unexpectedly, the small soul-splitting blade knocked the shield flying away. Just as the soul-splitting blade was about to pierce her graceful body, a translucent violet shield suddenly lit up around her. The soul-splitting blade struck the shield, sending Yan Yiwen along with the shield flying, but it failed to break the shield. Bang! Yan Yiwen crashed hard against the cliff wall. The violent impact made her blood surge. However, before she could catch her breath, the soul-splitting blade slashed at her again. Bang, bang, bang. The soul-splitting blade continuously struck the violet shield, but it was difficult to breach the shield even a fraction. Within the shield, Yan Yiwen felt like a giant violet egg being kicked around in midair, making her dizzy and disoriented. Save the miss. One male cultivator shouted urgently just as they prepared to rescue Yan Yiwen. Songwen's voice pierced through the chaos of battle, clearly reaching everyone's ears. Great Cave Divine Thunder, descend again. In an instant, a bolt of lightning the thickness of a tree trunk fell from the sky once more. You two hold this person back with all your might. I'll go save the miss, one of them decisively said. This person had a flat, bulbous nose and looked rather ugly. He quickly flew toward Yan Yiwen's direction, urging his flying sword to slash at the continuously attacking soul-splitting blade. Under the joint resistance of the 2 Peak Foundation establishment cultivators, they barely managed to block the torrential lightning attacks, buying some time for the bulbous-nosed man to rescue Yan Yiwen. However, the two also paid a significant price. Songwen's thunder technique was relentless. Around the two, the world had become enveloped in lightning. The shattered thunder techniques dispersed into small sparks of electricity, drifting everywhere. They were already surrounded layer upon layer by the roaming electric sparks. These roaming sparks could only last for a few breaths before dissipating on their own. Unable to withstand it, the speed at which Songwen unleashed his thunder techniques was simply too fast. The thunder fell continuously. The two could only struggle to cope. Chapter 362. The bulbous-nosed man continuously urged his flying sword to slash, resisting the attacks of the soul-splitting blade, and saved Yan Yiwen. He hovered beside Yan Yiwen, his expression serious. This person is hiding his cultivation level. He should also be a Peak Foundation establishment cultivator. Moreover, the thunder law he is using is incredibly powerful and continuous. Even if we all join forces, we may not be his match. Miss, let's retreat. Through the translucent white shield, Yan Yiwen's gaze was like a sharp poisonous thorn, piercing toward Songwen. Retreat? You actually want me to retreat? I've sacrificed so much to take revenge for my clan. My purity as a woman. Even my life. These things have not belonged to me since the moment I joined the 9 Palaces sect. I've waited nearly 30 years and my enemy is right before me, yet you want me to retreat. Yan Yiwen's face was filled with unwillingness and rage, her expression twisted, resembling madness. Miss, if we preserve the Green Mountains, we need not fear the lack of firewood, since we already know the true identity of our enemy. As long as we survive and return to the sect, we can ask the Supreme Elder to take action. A mere Peak Foundation establishment cultivator is not a problem. Yan Yiwen gritted her teeth, her eyes ablaze, and after a moment of silence, out a word, finally spat, "Go." The bulbous-nosed man's face brightened and he shouted to the other two, "The enemy is powerful. Brothers, retreat." After speaking, he summoned a shield to protect himself. At that moment, the flying sword shot out. It swept past the two trapped disciples. The sword light flashed by. Layers of wandering electricity were cut through by the flying sword, creating a passage. Want to leave? Too late. From this day on, this canyon will be your burial ground. Songwen's voice was as cold as ice. Above the canyon, 3 dark figures suddenly appeared, crashing down. The bulbous-nosed man looked up at the sky, his face changing dramatically. Not good, it's a corpse puppet. Run. He raised his leg and kicked at the white shield. Yan Yiwen shot out like a cannonball, evading the 3 dark figures in the sky, flying out. At that moment, the bulbous-nosed man turned and ran, chasing after Yan Yiwen. The other 2 trapped male cultivators followed the bulbous-nosed man to break out of the passage. Before the 2 could activate their escape light, the 3 corpse puppets had arrived. The silver corpse faced one of them alone. The two copper corpses worked together to block. Another, just as the bulbous-nosed man had fled a short distance, he saw Yen Yiwen, whom he had kicked away, returning rapidly and plunging into the depths of the canyon. In the sky, a towering ghostly figure appeared at some unknown time. The ghostly figure held a giant sword in its hand. Just now, the ghostly figure had used the giant sword to strike Yen Yiwen back. The ghostly figure flashed and swept past the bulbous-nosed man. "I told you, none of you can escape." Songwen closed in, and the soul-splitting blade struck out again, aiming directly at Yen Yiwen. The white shield around Yen Yiwen reminded Songwen of the shield that Wu Sui had when they entered the blood-withered secret realm. Wu Sui's shield was formed from a spell left behind by Wu Ren. Yen Yiwen's shield was similarly so. However, Yen Yiwen's shield was even more solid, at least 10 times stronger than Wu Sui's. Behind Yen Yiwen, there must be a powerful backing, far stronger than Wu Ren. In the mid-golden core stage, therefore, Yen Yiwen must die, otherwise it would lead to endless trouble. Her white shield was formed from an external source of magical power. Although it appeared indestructible, it was ultimately a sourceless water. Under constant attacks, this magical power would gradually deplete, and there would eventually come a moment when it would be exhausted. Clang, clang, clang. The soul-splitting blade struck continuously against the white shield like a fierce wind and torrential rain or raging waves crashing against the shore. The onslaught was relentless, each wave stronger than the last. The sharp blade, like a biting cold wind, continuously sliced through the white shield. It was impossible to know how many times the soul-splitting blade had struck, perhaps hundreds or even thousands of times. Songwen felt that the spiritual energy within him had been depleted. By more than half, the white shield suddenly became dim and unclear. The soul-splitting blade struck out once more. With a loud roar, the white shield suddenly shattered, turning into countless specks of light that scattered into the air. Yen Yiwen's figure emerged. Although the white shield had protected Yen Yiwen from the soul-splitting blade, it could not withstand the shockwaves from the continuous impacts. At this moment, her hair was disheveled, blood was at the corner of her mouth, and her internal organs were severely displaced, showing that she had suffered serious internal injuries. Yen Yiwen's gaze was filled with hatred as she stared intensely at Songwen. "Ji-in, you can't kill me. On the contrary, you will definitely die at my hands." In her hand, a silver talisman suddenly appeared. As she infused it with spiritual energy, cracks appeared on the talisman, bursting forth with dazzling silver light. Under the illumination of the silver light, Yen Yiwen's figure gradually became illusory. After the soul-splitting blade shattered the shield, it was knocked back by the force. Under Songwen's control, the cold gleam flashed. The soul-splitting blade pierced through Yen Yiwen's figure, but not a single drop of blood spilled out. Yen Yiwen's figure gradually disintegrated, disappearing without a trace. Seeing this, Songwen's expression darkened. He hadn't expected that Yen Yiwen had escaped. What kind of treasure was that silver talisman, allowing Yen Yiwen to teleport away? Songwen pondered in his heart at that moment. He flashed to a large rock at the bottom of the canyon. The 3 Peak Foundation establishment male cultivators had been captured by the Ghost King and the 3 corpse puppets. They lay on the large rock, barely alive. Songwen performed a soul-searching technique, probing each of the 3 men's souls. After completing the soul search on the 3, Songwen integrated the fragmented memories he obtained from them, gaining a general understanding of the situation. The Yen clan was exterminated, and after Yen Yiwen fled to the 9 Palaces sect, she was noticed by a supreme elder of the sect and taken as a disciple. This supreme elder, named Tai He, was a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator. After accepting Yen Yiwen as his disciple, he cared for her deeply, providing her with everything: techniques, elixirs, magical artifacts. All were supplied in abundance. Yen Yiwen's cultivation quickly rose, and within a few years, she broke through to the foundation establishment stage. At first, Yen Yiwen thought she had simply encountered a good fortune in finding a good teacher. However, as time passed, she gradually discovered some troubling aspects. Due to her beauty, she began attracting many admirers, but those suitors, regardless of their status, were all turned away by Master Tai He, and some even disappeared mysteriously. It wasn't until one day when the sect leader's son came to express his affection, Yen Yiwen was deeply embroiled in the hatred of her family's destruction, eager to establish her own power and strengthen herself so that one day she could take revenge on the corpse demon sect and Jean. The sect leader's son was undoubtedly an excellent choice for an alliance. Leveraging his influence could greatly expand her power within the Nine Palaces sect. However, this sect leader's son was killed on the spot by Tai He. Chapter 363. After finally selecting her ideal husband, Yen Yiwen was at a loss when her master killed him. She confronted Tai He directly. It was then that Tai He revealed the reason for taking her as his disciple. Yen Yiwen possessed a special physique known as the profound Yin body. An exceptional furnace body. Tai He's pretense of accepting her as a disciple was merely a facade. His true intention was to cultivate her as a furnace. He aimed to seize Yen Yiwen's Yin essence to break through the bottleneck of the mid-stage nascent soul and advance to the late stage. However, Yen Yiwen's current cultivation was too low, and her Yin essence was weak and powerless, insufficient to help him break through the bottleneck. Upon hearing this, instead of feeling any panic, fear, or sorrow, Yen Yiwen was filled with unexpected delight. She told Tai He that she was willing to be his furnace, even if it meant being drained of her Yin essence and cultivation to the point of death. She would have no regrets. But Tai He needed to help her take revenge on the corpse demon sect and Ji-in. To her surprise, Tai He informed her that although the corpse demon sect only had one nascent soul supreme elder, that elder was at the peak of the nascent soul stage, one of the strongest figures in the Tianyuan continent. Even Tai He himself would not be a match for that elder. Her desire for revenge against the corpse demon sect was nothing but a delusion. Thus, Yen Yiwen could only settle for seeking revenge against Ji-in. Ji-in was merely an outer disciple of the corpse demon sect. Killing him would be a trivial matter for Tai He. After the righteous evil war ended, the Nine Palaces sect and the corpse demon sect maintained close ties. Tai He sought out the upper echelons of the corpse demon sect, hoping to deal with Ji-in. However, he discovered that Ji-in had already defected. As a result, the trace of Song Wen's soul left in the corpse demon sect ended up in Tai He's hands, which he then handed over to Yen Yiwen. Tai He also dispatched 3 trusted subordinates to accompany Yen Yiwen into the righteous territories to hunt down Song Wen. These 3 would protect Yen Yiwen's safety while also monitoring her to prevent her from escaping, using the trace of Song Wen's soul. Yen Yiwen investigated his general location and followed his trail. Ultimately, she discovered that Song Wen was hiding within the Beastmaster sect. Yen Yiwen dared not set foot in the Beastmaster sect, but after coming so far, she felt unwilling to return empty-handed. Thus, she decided to wait outside the Beastmaster sect. Surely Ji-in would eventually step out. This wait lasted over 2 years. From the memories of the 3 men, Song Wen also learned that the silver talisman Yen Yiwen used to escape was called the small teleportation talisman, which could randomly teleport her 200 or 300 miles in an instant. The teleportation distance was somewhat related to the user's cultivation strength, but it would never exceed 300 miles. The small teleportation talisman was given to Yen Yiwen by Tai He for her safety. The colorful shield around Yen Yiwen was also a spell formation that Tai He had left within her body at the cost of depleting his own cultivation. After devouring the souls and essence, blood of the 3 men, Song Wen stored their bodies away. He took to the skies on his sword, swiftly heading toward the Beastmaster sect. Yen Yiwen's escape meant that the Beastmaster sect was no longer safe. After returning to the Nine Palaces sect, she would undoubtedly summon Tai He to hunt him down. Although the Nine Palaces sect and the Beastmaster sect were at odds, there were no eternal enemies or friends in the cultivation world, only eternal interests. As long as Tai He was willing to pay a certain price, the Beastmaster sect would likely be willing to hand him over. For the Beastmaster sect, Song Wen's only value lay in his expertise in corpse refining techniques. The Nine Palaces sect had a good relationship with the corpse demon sect, which was never short of people skilled in corpse refining. Furthermore, Yang Yu might also protect Song Wen and refuse to hand him over to Tai He. However, Song Wen did not dare entrust his fate to others. His life and death must be in his own hands, but for the time being he remained safe. Yen Yiwen was severely injured, and returning to the Nine Palaces sect, which was millions of miles away, would take considerable time since she was determined to escape from the Beastmaster sect. She naturally made long-term plans, gathering various spiritual materials to meet her future cultivation needs. When she arrived at the Beastmaster sect, it was not yet dawn. Songwen returned to his cave dwelling. Over the years, in order to speed up his cultivation progress, he had added quite a few valuable items to his cave, for example, a second-tier spirit gathering formation and a mid-grade spiritual tool-level meditation mat, which helped cultivators focus and meditate. Inside Song Wen's cave, there were a total of 8 snake pits, each equipped with a set of formation flags for the 6-hexagram demon locking array. All 8 sets of 6-hexagram demon locking array were second-tier formations capable of trapping demon beasts of the second tier or below. Apart from 2 snake pits that held serpent hybrids, the formation flags from the other 6 snake pits had all been collected by Songwen. He did not take the serpent hybrids with him as they were of little use as dawn broke. Songwen went to the alchemy peak, scattering spiritual stones, and a variety of spirit herbs fell into his hands. Having decided to leave the Beastmaster sect, he no longer worried about attracting attention. Furthermore, as he was now an elder in charge of the sect, ordinary people truly did not dare to harbor any covetous thoughts about him. The majority of the spirit herbs he bought were used for refining beast skins. In recent years, the sacred goo had been feeding on beast skins and occasionally managed to consume the meatballs that Songwen had been rationing. The meatballs were made from rotten flesh soaked in blood, which significantly boosted the strength of the sacred goo. All 6 sacred gus had now reached the late second-tier strength, leaving the alchemy peak. It was already the hour of Qin. Songwen headed directly to the main peak to request an audience with Fangpemi. This time, after the guards relayed his message, Songwen smoothly met with Fangpemi. Elder Wu, coming to see the sect master so early in the morning, did you encounter any difficulties in corpse refining? Fangpemi asked with a smile. Songwen replied, reporting to the sect master, the progress in refining the mystic qi is going smoothly, but several kinds of spiritual materials have run out. Worried that it might affect the progress of refining the mystic qi, I specially came to report to the sect master. Fangping smiled and said, so it's this matter. 10 days ago, after you reported the shortage of materials, I had someone start preparing them. They are already ready now. Even if you hadn't come, I would have sent someone to deliver them to you. As he spoke, Fangping handed a storage ring to Songwen. He continued, the Supreme Elder is pressing urgently, so I specially prepared some additional spiritual materials. You must keep them safe and not lose them. Songwen accepted the storage ring and used his spiritual sense to explore its contents. A vast quantity of corpse-refining spiritual materials appeared in his perception. There were no less than 1,000 bottles of Infin Du. Songwen estimated that the total value of all the corpse-refining materials in the storage ring exceeded 120,000 spiritual stones. Indeed, it was a large sect, easily able to provide over 100,000 worth of materials. Fangping waved his hand, and 4 jade boxes appeared out of thin air, floating towards Songwen. This is the 4-star soul flowers I promised you last time. Here they are. Songwen received the 4 jade boxes and opened one. A silver spiritual grass appeared before his eyes. This star soul grass had an age of about 200 years, making it perfectly suitable for refining golden pills. Songwen put away the 4 jade boxes, bowed deeply, clasped his fists, and with a sincere expression said, thank you, Sect Master, for your generous gifts. I deeply appreciate your great kindness and will definitely do my utmost to serve the sect. Fangping nodded with a smile, his expression filled with praise. The urgent matter now is to complete the Supreme Elder's arrangements. You just need to give your all and quickly refine 10 serpent hybrids brimming with Xian Qi, and you will not disappoint my high expectations. Yes. Songwen cupped his fists in reply. I will head to the serpent cave now and focus on refining the mystic qi. Go ahead, Fangping said. Chapter 364. Songwen arrived at the serpent cave and found Lu Jiang. Elder Lu, can you give me a few meatballs? Lu Jiang replied, Elder Wu, didn't you just receive 10 meatballs 3 days ago? Have you finished them so quickly? Songwen said, don't mention it, I accidentally ruined more than 10. Lu Jiang was taken aback, a bit stunned. Each meatball was the size of a basin. How could you accidentally ruin more than 10 in one go? But he didn't think too much about it given Song Wen's position. There was no need for him to lie about 10 meatballs in front of him. Lu Jiang waved his hand and 10 meatballs suddenly appeared, flying towards Song Wen. Song Wen unceremoniously accepted the meatballs, but his face was filled with displeasure. Elder Lu, this is a bit too stingy. 10 meatballs won't last long. Give me a bit more. Lu Jiang looked bitter. Elder Wu, the meatballs are provided by the Spirit Beast Peak and they only supply a 10-day supply at a time. The 10 I just gave you were already saved up over time if I give you more. The other serpent hybrids in the cave will go hungry. If you want more meatballs, you can only go to the Spirit Beast Peak and talk to Elder Zhuang Tao, who is in charge of distributing the meatballs. Song Wen's expression darkened and he said coldly, "What? The Spirit Beast Peak dares to obstruct us? Don't they know that the Supreme Elder is urging us to hurry with the refining of the Serpent Mystic Chi? Who knows? That group at the Spirit Beast Peak is always arrogant and disrespectful. Every time we ask them to cooperate, they turn up their noses and ignore us." Lu Jiang looked indignant, seemingly harboring a deep resentment against the Spirit Beast Peak. "Humph. I'll find Zhuang Tao with the order from the Supreme Elder. I want to see if he dares not to cooperate." After saying that, Song Wen stormed out. Lu Jiang called after Song Wen's retreating figure, "Elder Wu, do you need me to accompany you?" Song Wen waved his hand. "No need. The Spirit Beast Peak isn't a den of tigers and dragons. Do I, Wu Sheng, need to fear them?" The Spirit Beast Peak, also known as 10,000 Beast Peak, got its name from the multitude of spirit beasts on the mountain. The Spirit Beast Peak towers over 10,000 feet high, covering a vast area. It is the largest mountain in the Beastmaster sect. At the foot of the Spirit Beast Peak, there was a courtyard. More than 10 Chi refinement stage cultivators were busy working. Some were handling the rotten flesh taken from blood-soaked bodies, some were sorting spirit herbs, some were dissecting the corpses of unknown demon beasts, some were kneading meatballs, and some were applying the final sealing of spiritual energy to the meatballs. Song Wen flew on his sword, hovering above the courtyard. He was not very confident that he could get the meatballs from Zhuang Tao. After pondering for a moment and formulating a strategy, Song Wen descended, landing in front of a grand building in the courtyard. The large door of the building was engraved with 3 large characters. Beast Ball Pavilion. His appearance quickly attracted the attention of everyone in the courtyard. Those Chi refinement stage disciples, except for a few who were free and offered greetings to Song Wen, were busy with their tasks and did not pay him any mind. Song Wen walked straight into the main hall of the building and called out loudly, "Is Elder Zhuang present? I am Wu Xing from the Alchemy Peak. I have matters to discuss and hope Elder Zhuang will come out to meet me." As soon as Song Wen entered the main hall, he saw a flash of shadow and a figure appeared in the hall. This person had a fat head and big ears, with a cheerful smile that gave off a very amiable vibe. He was Zhuang Tao, Elder Wu. "It's my oversight not to have welcomed you on your first visit to the Beast Ball Pavilion." Song Wen smiled and said, "Elder Zhuang is being polite. It's my fault for coming uninvited. I hope Elder Zhuang won't hold it against me." Zhuang Tao said, "I've heard Elder Lu mention you several times. He praises your exceptional intelligence and how you manage the Serpent Cave so well. Meeting you today, you truly are a hero among men with remarkable presence." This person is quite astute, Song Wen thought to himself. Song Wen didn't have time for small talk with Zhuang Tao. He got straight to the point. "Elder Zhuang, I have come to discuss something. The number of serpent hybrids in the cave is increasing, and the demand for meatballs is growing. I hope Elder Zhuang can provide a bit more." Upon hearing this, Zhuang Tao's previously cheerful demeanor suddenly changed, and his expression became troubled and helpless. "Elder Wu, it's not that I, Zhuang, am stingy, it's that the quantity of meatballs is limited. Just supplying the Spirit Beast Peak is already insufficient. To avoid affecting the Alchemy Peak's cultivation of serpent hybrids, I've been forced to reduce the quota for the Spirit Beast Peak, which has caused grievances among the people there. If Elder Wu wants more meatballs, I'm truly unable to help." Song Wen was not easily dismissed by a few words. "Elder Zhuang, can't you think of a solution? It's impossible that you have no stock left at all." Zhuang Tao shook his head. "Elder Wu, meatballs are crucial for enhancing the strength of spirit beasts, and they are also essential in pill making. Every sect member wants them. However, the materials for making meatballs are rare, and the refining method is very complex, resulting in extremely low production. Before they can be made, they are already reserved by others. Where would there be any stock left?" Songwen was deeply skeptical of Zhuang Tao's words. As the one in charge, Zhuang Tao couldn't possibly have no stock at all. Songwen stared at Zhuang Tao, examining his face, as if trying to detect any sign of weakness in his expression. Zhuang Tao wore an expression of helplessness, looking at Songwen without saying a word, alas. Suddenly, Songwen sighed deeply, looking very forlorn. Just a few days ago, the Supreme Elder came to the Serpent Cave and ordered us to hurry with the refining of the Serpent Mystic Qi. If we don't have enough meatballs, we won't be able to cultivate a sufficient number of serpent hybrids, and we won't be able to select those with exceptional talent. Without those with exceptional talent, how can we cultivate powerful serpent hybrids in a short time? And without powerful serpent hybrids, how can we fulfill the Supreme Elder's orders? A flicker of concern flashed across Zhuang Tao's face but was quickly masked. Is it true that the Supreme Elder is urging the quick refining of serpent mystic qi? Is this true? Lu Jiang had mentioned this matter to him before, but he hadn't taken it to heart. After all, he was regularly providing a certain amount of meatballs to Lu Jiang, which should have been sufficient for the needs of the Serpent Cave. It wouldn't significantly impact the cultivation of serpent hybrids, Songwen said. Do I have several heads that I would dare to falsely convey the Supreme Elder's orders? Songwen's expression suddenly became very cautious and careful. He glanced around to confirm that there were no outsiders in the wooden hall. He leaned closer to Zhuang Tao, lowered his voice, and asked with a mysterious look, "Do you know why the Supreme Elder values the Serpent Mystic Qi so much?" Chapter 365. Zhuang Tao shook his head. I don't know, nor do I want to know. Only those who are seeking a death wish would inquire into the secrets of the first Supreme Elder. However, Songwen didn't give Zhuang Tao a chance to refuse. Before Zhuang Tao could finish speaking, he suddenly lowered his voice and said, "Once, the first Supreme Elder inadvertently revealed that the mystic qi is related to his cultivation. Anyone who delays the refining of the human serpent mystic qi is hindering his cultivation, and they will certainly face the wrath of the first Supreme Elder. You know, Zhou Xuelin from the Spirit Beast Peak was killed by the first Supreme Elder just for slaying a few human serpent corpses. His soul was scattered. The death of Zhou Xuelin was witnessed by dozens of people in the peak. Fang Pingyi imposed a gag order, strictly forbidding anyone from spreading the matter. Moreover, Zhou Xuelin's death involved the first Supreme Elder. As a result, everyone in the Beastmaster sect has kept this matter under wraps, and very few dare to speak of it for fear of attracting trouble. As for the human serpent being related to the first Supreme Elder's cultivation, this was something Songwen made up on the spot. However, it wasn't entirely baseless. Yang Yu's concern for the human serpent mystic qi likely has something to do with his cultivation. Zhuang Tao's face was filled with shock and anger. He didn't want to know the first Supreme Elder's secrets, nor did he want to know the reason behind Zhou Xuelin's death. These are matters that could easily lead to endless trouble. What left him somewhat incredulous was that Songwen dared to openly discuss the secrets of the first Supreme Elder. Songwen's voice wasn't loud, but there was no doubt that the walls have ears. Zhuang Tao stood up, his anger flaring. Elder Wu, you are not welcome here. Please leave. Songwen slowly stood up, a smile on his face. Elder Zhuang, I've said so much, and it seems you haven't listened at all. If that's the case, when I next see the first Supreme Elder, I can only report the matter of the Serpent Cave's insufficient meatballs truthfully. As he spoke, Songwen stepped towards the door. He wore a smile on his lips, his steps firm, while inwardly he waited for Zhuang Tao to call him back. What made him feel slightly disappointed was that until he walked out of the Beast Ball Pavilion, Zhuang Tao didn't say a single word to stop him. Just as Songwen prepared to take flight on his sword, a voice suddenly came from behind. Elder Wu, wait a moment. Songwen's heart leaped with joy. Though his expression remained impassive, he turned around to look at Zhuang Tao, his face full of confusion, and asked, Elder Zhuang, what is it that you want? Zhuang Tao hesitated for a while before finally making up his mind and saying, I still have a batch of meatballs here. Since the Serpent Cave is in urgent need, I'd trouble Elder Wu to take them back, so I won't have to make another trip myself. As he spoke, he raised his hand and threw a storage bag to Songwen. Songwen caught the storage bag, his spiritual sense probing inside, and his face lit up with joy. Inside the storage bag, there were a full 2,000 meatballs. Songwen clasped his fists together. These meatballs will resolve the pressing needs of the Serpent Cave. Thank you, Elder Zhuang. Zhuang Tao replied, the first Supreme Elder is the anchor of our sect, extremely busy. There's no need to disturb him over the earlier unpleasantness. Songwon chuckled. The Beast Ball Pavilion and the Serpent Cave have always helped each other. When has there been any unhappiness? Upon hearing this, Zhuang Tao laughed heartily. Elder Wu is absolutely correct. Songwon bowed to bid farewell, quickly taking to the skies on his sword, heading towards the peak. At the waist of the peak, there is a spirit medicine pavilion. All kinds of spirit medicines refined from the peak are sold there. Moreover, the prices are slightly cheaper than in the markets. Songwon purchased a considerable amount of medicines, including those for detoxification and healing, as well as the most abundant beast essence pills. Once he left the Beastmaster sect, it would be much more troublesome to purchase these medicinal pills. As long as he could easily obtain these pills now, Songwon naturally wanted to stock up on a few more. A graceful female disciple at the 7th layer of Qi refinement accepted 40,000 spirit stones from Songwon and handed him 1,000 beast essence pills. Elder Wu, why are you buying so many pills all at once today? Usually, Songwon was known for his amiable nature, whether dealing with foundation-building elders or Qi refinement disciples. Songwon always presented a gentle demeanor, having visited the Spirit Medicine Pavilion many times. The disciples there had become familiar with his character. As the senior elder of the pavilion, Songwon's friendly disposition naturally made him a favored target for flattery among most disciples. This female disciple had thought that Songwon would chat with her, like he usually did. Unexpectedly, what met her was a cold glare from Songwon. Why do I need you to ask so much about my affairs? Songwon's icy tone made the female disciple tremble. She felt as if a fierce beast was staring at her, her heart suddenly constricting, and her face turned pale in an instant. I wouldn't dare. Humph. If I find out that you've leaked the fact that I bought these pills, you can go be the rations for the spirit beasts. Songwon's figure vanished from the spirit medicine pavilion, but his cold voice echoed in the female disciple's ears. The disciple felt chills all over her body, her limbs weak, and sweat drenched her clothes-fitting clothing. As soon as Songwon stepped out of the spirit medicine pavilion, he saw Rong Jingyun approaching him. Rong Jingyun was beaming with pride, unable to suppress the joy on her face. Elder Wu, are you here to buy medicinal pills? She casually asked. Songwon nodded, acknowledging her greeting. He did not slow his pace and continued to head outside. He had already reaped most of the benefits he could from the Beastmaster sect and wanted to leave as soon as possible. He had no desire to engage in idle chat with Rong Jingyun. However, Rong Jingyun had no intention of letting Songwon go. She sent a voice transmission. Elder Wu, I successfully refined the breaking barrier pill. Songwon halted his steps and turned to Rong Jingyun, responding through voice transmission. Congratulations, Elder Rong. The success of the Golden Core pill is imminent. Just 9 days ago, Fang Pingyi had successfully refined 2 batches of Golden Core pills, after which Rong Jingyun received her due Golden Core pill. However, Rong Jingyun had not entered seclusion to consume the Golden Core pill and attempt to form her pill instead. She had been preparing for the refinement of the Breaking Barrier pill. Now that she had succeeded in refining the Breaking Barrier pill, she should be ready to prepare for pill formation. Rong Jingyun transmitted again. Recently, the affairs of the Serpent Cave have been quite busy, plus, I still need some time to stabilize my cultivation. I'm afraid it will be another 3 days before I enter seclusion to try forming the pill. With Elder Rong's foundation and temperament, I believe you will succeed in forming the pill. Thank you for your kind words, Elder Wu. After chatting for a while, Songwon excused himself and departed on his sword. Ascending into the air, Songwon suddenly halted his sword light after pondering for a moment. He changed direction and headed towards the refining peak. 15 minutes later, Songwon returned to the Spirit Beast Peak, appearing at the foot of the mountain. This area was surrounded by dense forests, with towering trees blocking the sun. It was quite remote, with few people around. In front of Songwon, there was an underground entrance, narrow enough for only one person to pass through. Beside the underground entrance stood a stone tablet inscribed with 4 large characters. Spirit Flame Forbidden Area. Songwon did not step into the underground entrance but took out a communication jade slip to send a message. The underground entrance had a formation restriction. Without a pass token, one could not force their way in. Moments later, Shuiyun and Wei Ding arrived together, flying on their swords. Chapter 366. Junior Brother Wu, what brings you to the Spirit Flame Forbidden Area today? Even from a distance, Yun greeted him with a flattering smile. Wei Ding, on the other hand, was less enthusiastic and wore a cold expression. The underground passage was the entrance to the spirit flame forbidden area, where the earth core refining flame was sealed. Yun and Wei Ding were responsible for guarding the spirit flame forbidden area. Song Wen said, "Senior Sister Zhua, Elder Wei, I am here to collect a strand of the heart fire from the earth core refining flame for the needs of the Serpent Cave's corpse refining. The heart fire is the core part of the spirit fire, and extracting it would weaken the spirit fire. However, the earth core refining flame sealed beneath the alchemy peak was carefully cultivated by the Beastmaster sect and had grown remarkably strong. Taking just one strand of the heart fire would not affect the entire earth core refining flame. It is worth mentioning that the heart fire is not a divided flame. It will automatically dissipate after a certain amount of time and cannot be used as a seed for cultivating spirit fire." Wei Ding's expression turned serious as he coldly said, "The spirit flame forbidden area is a critical location for the sect. Without the command of the Peak Master, no one is allowed to enter." Since Fang Pingyi became the sect master, he had not relinquished his position as the alchemy Peak Master. When Wei Ding referred to the Peak Master, he was talking about Fang Pingyi. Song Wen was taken aback. "Have you two not received the sect master's orders yet?" "I just came from the sect master's side, and he has already approved this matter. The sect master said he would send someone to inform you. Could it be that he's too busy and forgot? What should we do now?" "When I left, the sect master mentioned he would enter seclusion for a few days. The Serpent Cave is still waiting for the spirit flame for corpse refining. I've been pondering for days, finally coming up with a plan that could potentially expedite the corpse refining process. Now, it seems like it's going to be stalled. I can only wait for the sect master to finish his seclusion before trying new methods of corpse refining." Wei Ding looked at Song Wen with skepticism. "Using the earth core refining flame for corpse refining? Elder Wu, are you joking? The earth core refining flame is not some evil fire that can assist in corpse refining." On the night Zhou Xuelin died, Fang Pingyi had summoned all the foundation building cultivators from the alchemy peak to watch, which included Wei Ding and Zhua Shuiyun. Therefore, these two were somewhat aware of the ins and outs of the human serpent corpse refining method. Song Wen replied, "What would I gain from lying to you? The earth core refining flame is for corpse refining. I've reported this to the sect master, and he agrees with the plan. If you don't believe me, you can certainly contact the sect master for verification." "Oh, I forgot, the sect master is in seclusion." Fang Pingyi being in seclusion was, of course, a fabricated lie by Song Wen. However, Song Wen wasn't worried. The two of them could message Fang Pingyi because the two of them did not have a communication jade slip from Fang Pingyi. Before Fang Pingyi took the position of sect master, all foundation building cultivators in the alchemy peak had his communication jade slip. Once he was promoted to sect master, he felt that his status was different from before, and not just anyone could qualify to possess his communication jade slip. Thus, he made new communication jade slips and discarded the old ones. Song Wen had only obtained Fang Pingyi's new communication jade slip 10 days ago after the first Supreme Elder appeared in the Serpent Cave. So it was not something Zhua Shuiyun or Wei Ding had. Zhua Shuiyun and Wei Ding exchanged glances, and neither of them easily believed Song Wen's words. Zhua Shuiyun smiled brightly and said sweetly, "Junior brother Wu, it's not that, Elder Wei, and I don't want to help you. It's just that the sect has rules and we dare not overstep. I understand your difficulties, and rest assured I won't make things difficult for you." Song Wen said dejectedly. He raised his sword light, ready to leave. Suddenly, he stopped again. "Senior Sister Zhua, Elder Wei, we are old acquaintances. When I first joined the sect, I received care and guidance from both of you, which I have always remembered. I see that the environment in the Spirit Flame Forbidden area is harsh and the remuneration is quite low. May I ask, have you two considered changing positions?" Upon hearing this, Zhua Shuiyun's eyes sparkled with interest. Even Wei Ding, who had been cold-faced, showed a flicker of emotion. "Elder Wu, are you willing to help us and transfer from this place?" Zhua Shuiyun asked excitedly. Both she and Wei Ding had had enough of the Spirit Flame Forbidden area. Inside the Spirit Flame Forbidden area, the chaotic fire-attributed spiritual power caused a severe imbalance in other types of elemental energies. Except for cultivators with single-element fire spiritual roots, others simply could not cultivate in the forbidden area. especially for Wei Ding, who had been demoted and sent to guard this place. Unless there was a significant reason, it would be difficult for him to be reassigned. Zhou Shuiyun's situation was slightly better than Wei Ding's. She had made no mistakes and was good at socializing as long as she fulfilled her term. She could be transferred, however. There was no position on the Alchemy Peak that compared to the Serpent Cave. That was the place where the first Supreme Elder conducted business. Thus, when Song Wen mentioned the possibility of changing positions for them, both of them were deeply moved. 10 days ago, the first Supreme Elder suddenly appeared in the Serpent Cave, requesting to expedite the corpse refining of the human serpent. Currently, the Serpent Cave is in urgent need of personnel. If both of you are willing, you could serve in the Serpent Cave. I can't say much about the Serpent Cave, but in terms of monthly salary, it is definitely the best in the sect. Moreover, as long as you work diligently, you will undoubtedly be promoted to Elder Steward in no time. Zhou Shuiyun was overjoyed and flew to stand before Song Wen. Junior brother Wu, is that true? Song Wen smiled. Would I deceive my senior sister? Then he looked at Wei Ding and said, Elder Wei, what do you think? Although Wei Ding was tempted, he still had doubts. Would you really be so kind as to help me? Song Wen replied, Elder Wei, you have carefully taught me alchemy techniques, making you half a mentor to me. Why would I deceive you? Besides, what is there for me to gain from lying to you both? Wei Ding opened his mouth, wanting to say something further, but he was preempted by Zhou Shuiyun. With a gentle smile, Zhou Shuiyun said, Junior brother Wu, then it's settled. Seeing this, Wei Ding no longer hesitated and quickly spoke up. Thank you, Elder Wu. I am willing to go. Song Wen nodded. In a few days, when the sect master comes out of seclusion, I will speak with him to finalize this matter. After saying this, Song Wen prepared to leave on his sword, but suddenly stopped again. Would you both do me a favor and let me enter to collect a strand of the heart fire from the earth core refining flame? A mere strand of heart fire will not have any effect on the earth core refining flame. Upon hearing this, the joy on Zhou Shuiyun and Wei Ding's faces suddenly faded. This? Zhou Shuiyun looked troubled and turned to Wei Ding in her heart. She truly did not want Song Wen to step into the forbidden area even a single step. She hoped Wei Ding would refuse him, however. Wei Ding's response was completely unexpected to her. Elder Wu, if you wish to take a strand of heart fire, that is naturally no problem. As he spoke, he took out a black token, activated it, and lightly waved it toward the entrance of the passage. The restrictions at the entrance of the passage immediately opened. Wei Ding, having been demoted to this position, was even more eager than Zhou Shuiyun to be assigned to the Serpent Cave if he missed this opportunity. He did not know when he would have another chance to be transferred. Moreover, in his subconscious, he did not believe that Song Wen would do anything to harm the earth core refining flame. That would be a path to self-destruction. Chapter 367. Elder Wu, please. Wei Ding raised his hand and gestured toward the entrance of the forbidden area, indicating for Song Wen to proceed first. Seeing that Wei Ding had lifted the restrictions on the forbidden area, Song Wen felt a surge of joy in his heart, though his face remained humble. There are still other restrictions in the underground passage, and I'm not familiar with the situation inside. I'll need to trouble Elder Wei and senior sister Zhou to guide me. Wei Ding nodded and stepped into the passage. Zhou Shuiyun considered for a moment, then gritted her teeth and followed him into the passage. Song Wen quickly kept pace behind them. The passage spiraled downward in front of them. Wei Ding held the access token, unlocking layer upon layer of restrictions. After a little over a quarter of an hour, the three descended to about 10 miles deep underground. A cave of several acres appeared before them. In the center of the cave stood a square cauldron about 10 feet high. Inside the cauldron, blue flames burned fiercely. The flames surged skyward, reaching several meters high. At the top of the cave, there was a vertical shaft about 10 feet wide, leading to the peak of the Dan Peak. In each alchemy chamber and cultivator's residence on the Dan Peak, there was a small deep hole. These deep holes connected with the larger vertical shaft, allowing cultivators to draw upon the residual heat of the earth core refining flame for alchemy. The surface of the square cauldron was engraved with countless inscriptions, sealing the earth core refining flame to prevent the spiritual fire from leaking out and incinerating the Dan Peak. Without the cauldron's seal, the earth core refining flame would have long turned this underground cave into a world of lava. As soon as they entered the cave, Songwon felt a torrent of heat wash over him. Looking at the square cauldron and the burning blue flames within, he couldn't help but be shaken. The spiritual flame nurtured by the sect's power was indeed extraordinary. Elder Wu, please wait here for a moment while I go retrieve a strand of the heart fire, Wei Ding said. Since he had decided to serve under Songwon, he would do so thoroughly. As he spoke, Wei Ding began to perform the fire control technique. Seeing this, a hint of derision flashed in Zhou Shuiyun's eyes. In the past, Wei Ding had treated Songwon coldly, showing indifference now, as if needing something from Songwon. He was being even more solicitous than she was. She felt a pang of regret, silently cursing herself for not seizing the opportunity to curry favor with Songwon first. Then I'll trouble Elder Wei, Songwon said, standing behind Wei Ding. With a smile as he watched him cast his spell, Wei Ding's fire control technique wasn't particularly advanced, but he was extremely skilled, clearly having practiced diligently. He took out a small furnace, holding it in front of him with his hand. He continually formed the fire control seals. The earth core refining flame within the cauldron was drawn toward him by the seals, and a thumb-sized blue flame gradually detached from the cauldron. Floating toward the small furnace, the flame appeared somewhat ethereal, as if it would dissipate at any moment. Just as Wei Ding was concentrating and preparing to collect the heart fire, Songwon, standing behind him, suddenly raised his hand. Lightning crackled around his palm. He slashed down like a knife, striking at Wei Ding's back with a speed so swift it was almost imperceptible. Wei Ding's cultivation was inferior to Songwen's, and he was completely unprepared. By the time he reacted, Songwen had already launched a surprise attack. The violent lightning surged along Songwen's palm, invading Wei Ding's body. The lightning poured into Wei Ding's dantian. Immediately, the spiritual power within his dantian went out of control, rampaging violently inside him. Boom! The lightning erupted within his dantian. Wei Ding's abdomen exploded, leaving a fist-sized hole in his body. At the same time, he was struck by Songwen's palm and sent flying. After flying several feet, Wei Ding finally landed with his dantian shattered. His spiritual power rapidly drained away. In the blink of an eye, Wei Ding lost all his cultivation. His breath weak and without any resistance, the sudden turn of events startled Zhou Shuiyun, causing her to retreat in alarm. In a flash of thought, she summoned a blood-red creature, the blood demon she had previously subdued from the Chung family. The blood demon bared its fangs, its gaze fierce, and lunged at Song. When a flash of cold light swept past, Zhou Shuiyun had gone to great lengths to obtain the blood demon. Yet it couldn't withstand even a single attack from Songwon and was immediately split in half, blood spraying everywhere. At that moment, Zhou Shuiyun retreated 2 feet. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain in her lower back. Using her spiritual sense to probe, she discovered that, unbeknownst to her, a tiny insect had burrowed into her body from behind, invading her dantian. Zhou Shuiyun had only reached the initial stage of foundation building, and against the sacred goo that was close to breaking through to the later stage, she had no power to resist. Soon, the sacred goo bit through her dantian. Her spiritual power dissipated, her cultivation was crippled, and she collapsed to the ground, the soul-cleaving blade flickered and disappeared, severing the right hands of Wei Ding and Zhou Shuiyun. Both of them wore their storage rings on their right hands, and without their storage rings, they couldn't retrieve anything from them to send messages to others. Wu Shang, what do you want to do? Wei Ding lay on the ground, his voice harsh with questioning. My dantian, my cultivation. Zhou Shuiyun cried out in pain. Songwen ignored both of them, his mind shifting as a 3-foot-high bronze furnace suddenly appeared in front of him. Songwen sat cross-legged in front of the bronze furnace. This bronze furnace was a high-quality spiritual tool he had just purchased from the artifact refining peak used for storing the earth core refiner flame. He adjusted his spiritual power and activated the supreme fire control true secret. In these 9 days, he had grasped the general concept of the supreme fire control true secret. Though he was not yet proficient, it was enough for his current needs. He aimed to extract a strand of the earth core refining flame from the square cauldron. The difficulty of extracting this flame was hundreds of times greater than obtaining a heart fire. With flying hand seals, Song Wen's immense spiritual power and rich spiritual sense continuously surged into the core of the earth core refining flame, attempting to tear the spiritual fire apart. The earth core refining flame seemed to possess a kind of sentience, as if aware of Song Wen's injected spiritual power and spiritual sense. Responding with ill intent, it emitted intense heat, trying to burn away and extinguish Song Wen's spiritual sense and power. The sealing of the earth core refining flame by the square cauldron made things considerably easier for Song Wen. Otherwise, his intrusion of spiritual power and sense would definitely provoke a violent reaction from the earth core refining flame, increasing the difficulty of extracting the flame tenfold or more. After 2 hours, beads of sweat dotted Song Wen's forehead. Under his full-force fire control, a blue flame the size of a basin was extracted. The flame was dense and thick, radiating intense heat. Song Wen's expression became serious, as the next step was the most crucial. He needed to draw the extracted earth core refining flame from the square cauldron and collect it in the bronze furnace. As Song Wen cast his fire control spell, the flame soared from the square cauldron, darting toward him. Suddenly, an unexpected scene unfolded. The earth core refining flame in the square cauldron erupted violently, the flames surging to several feet high as if it wanted to break free from the cauldron's seal. The square cauldron had been specially crafted by the Beastmaster sect to seal the earth core refining flame, so it wasn't something that could be easily breached. The rapidly swelling earth core refining flame was quickly subdued. However, the sudden increase in flames caused the temperature inside the cave to rise sharply. The temperature within the large vertical shaft at the cave's top also spiked. Chapter 368. Alchemy Peak, the Xian Refining Room. Zhou Si was busy refining a falling meteor elixir. The refining of the falling meteor elixir was complex, requiring significant time and effort as Zhou Si reached the final steps. Preparing to condense the elixir, suddenly a wave of intense heat surged from the deep cavern beneath the cauldron. This heat wave came suddenly like a storm, arriving quickly and departing just as fast, dissipating in an instant. Strangely, after the heat wave, the temperature in the deep cavern sharply dropped, becoming even lower than it had been before the heat wave. The rapid change in temperature in the deep cavern caused the cauldron's temperature to become unstable. With a loud bang, the elixir exploded in the cauldron, ruining the refining process. Having failed in her efforts, Zhou Si's expression turned sour. What happened? The heat in the deep cavern has always been stable. Why is there an unusual fluctuation today? Zhou Si furrowed her brows, muttering to herself. She stood up, hastily tidied up, and exited the refining room. Immediately, Zhou Si realized that she wasn't the only one affected by the instability of the heat in the deep cavern. Several second-tier alchemists also emerged from the refining room with gloomy expressions. What just happened? Someone asked curiously. Could it be that the earth core refining flame beneath the ground is experiencing some kind of anomaly? One person suggested with a suspicious tone. Zhou Si did not participate in their discussions and walked straight outside. She needed to get some fresh air outside the alchemy room to relieve her frustration over the failed refining. Song Wen sealed the extracted flame into the bronze furnace in front of him. Putting away the bronze furnace, lightning flashed around him as he rapidly darted outward in his hand. He held a passage token, breaking through one barrier after another in the passage. The token had been taken from Wei Ding. The moment the earth core refining flame was extracted, the flames surged violently. Then, the flames rapidly weakened. The abnormality of the earth core refining flame would surely attract attention. It was only a matter of time before someone came to inspect it. He couldn't stay here for long. As for Zhou Shuiyun and Wei Ding, both of them had suffered severe injuries and had already fainted. Song Wen did not kill the two. If they died, their soul lamps would extinguish. If both elders stationed at the earth core refining flame died at the same time, it would undoubtedly raise suspicion. Someone would immediately come to inspect the spirit flame forbidden area. He would leave them behind to bear Fang Pengyi's wrath at full speed. Song Wen rushed through the passage in just a few dozen breaths. Outside the forbidden area, there was no one else. This place was remote and a sex forbidden area. So generally, No one would come here. Once he dispelled the lightning around him, he rose on his sword, flying leisurely toward the sect's exit. As he flew out of the dense forest, he saw Zhou Si standing in midair nearby, her expression troubled. "Junior brother Wu, what a coincidence to encounter you here." The frown on Zhou Si's face vanished, replaced by a smile. Song Wen did not slow down his flight, continuing to head toward the sect's exit. "Senior sister, I have something to attend to and need to leave the sect for a while." Zhou Si watched Song Wen's retreating figure, suddenly realizing that the position where Song Wen had just taken off was very close to the spirit flame forbidden area. Recalling the recent anomalies with the earth core refining flame, a flash of insight crossed her eyes, revealing her shock watching Song Wen's figure vanish into the horizon. The surprise in Zhou Si's eyes faded, gradually giving way to a soft affection. "Junior brother Wu, I wish you a safe journey and good fortune. I only hope that you and I will have the chance to meet again in this lifetime." After collecting her emotions, Zhou Si walked toward the alchemy room. This place was fraught with danger. She could not stay for long. As for Song Wen, no matter who asked about him, she would say she had not seen him all day. 2/4 of an hour later, someone noticed that in all the alchemy rooms, the heat emanating from the deep cavern had noticeably weakened compared to usual, and it had not yet recovered. Messages were sent to contact Wei Ding and Zhou Shuiyun, but there was no response. Only then did everyone realize something was wrong and reported the situation. After receiving the news, Fang Pingyi did not pay much attention to it. As the sect leader, he had too many affairs to attend to within the sect. By the time he finished the urgent matters at hand and arrived at Alchemy Peak, over an hour had passed. He brought several foundational elders with him, passing through the spirit flame forbidden area's passage to reach the cave where the earth core refining flame was located. When he saw Zhou Shuiyun and Wei Ding lying unconscious on the ground, as well as the significantly weakened earth core refining flame, it was clear that part of the spiritual flame had been stolen. Fang Pingyi was instantly filled with rage. The restrictions within the passage were intact, indicating that the person who had stolen the fire must be an insider within the sect. Moreover, their status must not be low. It was only because Zhou Shuiyun and Wei Ding had brought the thief into the forbidden area. Wake them up. I want to know who did this. Under the care of the foundational cultivators, Wei Ding and Zhou Shuiyun gradually regained consciousness. Who stole the earth core refining flame? Fang Pingyi asked sternly. His voice was as cold as a blade, instilling deep fear in Wei Ding and Zhou Shuiyun. Both of them had been rendered powerless, and without any cultivation, they were of no value to the Beastmaster sect. They had committed a grave mistake that led to the theft of the earth core refining flame. What awaited them would be endless suffering, far worse than being killed directly by Song Wen. Both of them, understanding their dire situation, were so devastated that they momentarily forgot to respond to Fang Pingyi's question. "This sect leader asks you again, who stole the earth core refining flame?" Under Fang Pingyi's repeated questioning, they finally came back to their senses. It was Wu Sheng. Wu Sheng. After a brief moment of surprise, rage flickered in Fang Pingyi's eyes. He could not understand why Wu Sheng would take the risk to steal the earth core refining flame, although the earth core refining flame was precious. Given Song Wen's status in the sect and his standing with the Grand Elder, if he wanted the earth core refining flame, there would be no need to steal it. He could simply wait for 20 or 30 days until the earth core refining flame was sufficiently strong, and the Alchemy Peak would separate some flames to reward the meritorious. Wu Sheng had a good chance of obtaining the flames if he wanted them. After all, did Rong Jingyun not also possess the earth core refining flame? Find him. Get Wu Sheng for me. Fang Pingyi ordered angrily. Then he looked at Wei Ding and Zhou Shuiyun on the ground and said, "Drag these two useless ones to the law enforcement hall and let them be thoroughly interrogated." "Leader, please grant me a quick death." Wei Ding cried out loudly, "Leader, please spare me. I can serve you like a beast." Zhou Shuiyun pleaded tearfully. If they fell into the hands of the law enforcement hall, what awaited them would be tortures worse than death. Fang Pingyi seemed to ignore their pleas, not bothering to respond. A foundational cultivator used spiritual energy to lift the two into the air and began to carry them away. Whether it was due to their severe injuries or excessive fear, both of their faces turned pale. Their eyes were filled with terror, panic, and desperation. Chapter 369. Fang Pingyi led a team to search Alchemy Peak thoroughly, including Song Wen's cave dwelling and the Serpent Cave, but they found no trace of Song Wen. Is it possible that Wu Sheng has betrayed the sect? A bad premonition suddenly arose in Fang Pingyi's heart. This morning, Wu Xing had taken away materials worth millions, including a corpse refining spiritual material and 4 star soul flowers from him. Messages from Spirit Beast Peak indicated that Wu Xing had also taken 2,000 meatballs. Furthermore, Wu Xing had purchased a large quantity of spiritual medicines and pills. Moreover, Wu Xing had stolen the earth core refining fire. All signs pointed to a premeditated escape. Fang Pingyi's face darkened further. The treasures Wu Xing had taken, while valuable, were not devastating losses for the Beastmaster sect. However, Wu Xing was tied to the refining of the human serpent mystic qi, and with his sudden disappearance, where could they find a suitable corpse refiner? If the refining of the human serpent mystic qi was delayed, how could they report to the Supreme Elder? Fang Pingyi felt agitated. Just as he was preparing to head to the law enforcement hall to retrieve Song Wen's soul lamp and use secret techniques to trace Song Wen's whereabouts, he received a report from the law enforcement hall about a stick of incense ago. Wu Xing's soul lamp had extinguished. What? Wu Xing is dead. Fang Pingyi's expression was one of disbelief. How could Wu Xing suddenly be dead? How could Wu Xing die? Fang Pingyi knew there was something fishy about this matter. It was very likely that Wu Xing was still alive but had used some method to extinguish the soul lamp within the law enforcement hall. Without the soul lamp, the only way to track Wu Xing's whereabouts would be to question those close to him, thus Zhou Si, Rong Jingyun, Lu Jiang, Zhang Bing, and Li Shi, those who usually interacted with Song Wen, became the primary targets for interrogation. However, after several rounds of questioning, no useful information was obtained. Fang Pingyi could only start searching for proficient corpse refiners while continuing to investigate Song Wen's situation. Time flew by. Just as Fang Pingyi was about to dismiss the matter of Wu Xing from his mind, 2 people, a man and a woman, arrived outside the Beastmaster sect. The man wore a blue robe, had a square face, and exuded an air of righteousness. The woman was Yan Yiwen, who had escaped from Song Wen. The square-faced man was her master, Tai He, a late nascent soul cultivator and the elder of the 9 Palaces sect, who would drain her cultivation and essence. The 2 did not enter the Beastmaster sect but stopped on a mountain peak several dozen miles away from it. Tai He flicked his fingers, sending out a burst of magical energy. The energy shot through the air and fell deep within the Beastmaster sect. After a few breaths, a figure flew out from the depths of the Beastmaster sect and approached the mountain peak where the 2 were located. Tai He, your 9 Palaces sect disregards the righteousness of the world and openly betrays the righteous path. You dare to venture into the righteous territory alone? Are you not afraid of being besieged by righteous nascent soul cultivators and falling here? The newcomer was a female cultivator in a deep blue long gown. Her long hair was simply pinned up with a wooden hairpin, with a few strands dancing lightly in the wind, giving her an air of grace. Her expression was calm, and her deep-set eyes held a profound intensity. She was Mi He, the 2nd Supreme Elder of the Beastmaster sect, a late nascent soul cultivator. Mi He, it's been many years. The moment we meet again, you threaten your old friend? Tai He said, old friend? I wouldn't dare to presume. Mi He got straight to the point. You traveled 1,000,000 miles. You wouldn't have come just for small talk, would you? Tai He replied, I wish to ask for a persona disciple of the Beastmaster sect. A cold smile appeared on Mi He's lips. On what basis do you think that if you want someone, I will give them to you? Tai He said, do you not want to hear my conditions? I only want a foundation establishment cultivator. I won't make it difficult for you. Our Beastmaster sect is a righteous sect, with principles to uphold. How could we be like your evil sects, disregarding the safety of our disciples for a mere trifle? Don't even think about getting a foundation establishment cultivator from us, not even a newly accepted outer disciple. Mi He's voice was firm and decisive. 100 top-quality spirit stones. Ha ha! Mi He scoffed. 200 top-quality spirit stones. Tai He, you'd better leave quickly. Yang Yu hasn't returned to the sect lately. If he happens to arrive, it won't be so easy for you to leave. 500 top-quality spirit stones for just a foundation establishment cultivator is hardly worth this price. Do you think I'm short a few hundred spirit stones? Mihi replied mockingly. Taihe fell silent for a moment, his expression pained, and gritted his teeth, saying, "One minor teleportation talisman." Upon hearing this, Mihi's lips curled into a triumphant smile, looking as if her scheme had succeeded. She extended a hand. "You'll also need to add those 500 spirit stones from earlier." Taihe said, "Mihi, your appetite is quite large. For a foundation establishment cultivator, you want a minor teleportation talisman and 500 top-quality spirit stones." Mihi replied, "In business, it should be a mutual agreement." Taihe said, "Fine, deal." Without any visible movement, a portrait appeared in the air. The person in the portrait was Song when disguised as Wu Sheng. Mihi stared at the portrait for a moment, then took out a blank jade slip and inscribed some information into it. With a flick of her hand, the jade slip flew toward the Beastmaster sect. "Wait a moment. Someone will bring you the person you want." Taihe nodded and fell silent. Yen Yiwen looked at Taihe with gratitude. "Master's kindness. I will remember it in my heart." Taihe's expression was calm. "This is the agreement we made long ago. What you seek will be fulfilled soon. Don't go back on your promise." 200 years ago, Taihe had obtained the method to create the minor teleportation talisman within an ancient secret realm. The materials needed for this talisman were incredibly precious, and the crafting process was extremely difficult since acquiring the method. He had passed it on to other nascent soul cultivators of the Nine Palaces sect, however. Until now, only Taihe had been able to successfully craft the minor teleportation talisman, and even his success rate was very low. The minor teleportation talisman functioned like a small personal teleportation array, capable of randomly transporting a person 200 to 300 miles in an instant. Unlike the blood shield technique, which consumed vital blood with each use, the minor teleportation talisman had almost no side effects. It was precisely because of the existence of the minor teleportation talisman that Taihe dared to venture alone into the territory of the righteous path, that he was willing to exchange one minor teleportation talisman for Song when illustrated how much he valued Yen Yiwen. After a moment, the three did not wait for Song 1, but instead awaited Fang Pengyi, the sect leader. "Why did you come alone? Where are the people I asked you to bring?" Mihi's expression was displeased. She had already negotiated the terms with Taihe and promised to deliver the person to him. Fang Pengyi not bringing anyone made her feel embarrassed. Fang Pengyi bowed and said, "Reporting to the Supreme Elder, the person named Wu Sheng suddenly went missing over a stick of incense ago, and his soul lamp has already extinguished. Previously, Yen Yiwen had escaped from Song 1 but had sustained serious injuries. She found a secluded place to heal her wounds before setting off to return to the Nine Palaces sect. During this time, a significant amount of time had already passed." Chapter 370. Dead. Mihi's expression was grim. "You wouldn't be trying to deceive me, would you?" Fang Pengyi's face tightened, and he hurriedly replied, "Disciple wouldn't dare. The Grand Elder can randomly ask any Foundation establishment elder on the Alchemy Peak to verify the truth of this matter." Mihi felt a bit disappointed and turned to look at Taihe. "You heard him. The person you want is already dead, so our deal is not possible." Taihe's expression was serious. "You two don't need to put on a show in front of me. If I didn't have some confidence, would I dare to come to the Beastmaster sect to demand a person? That person is definitely not dead." Mihi looked puzzled. "What makes you say that? How do you know that person is still alive?" "Humph. We also have a trace of his soul aura." Taihe glanced at Yen Yiwen, understanding the hint. Yen Yiwen took out a black soul lamp, about the size of a palm. Inside the lamp, a faint gray light emitted weak fluctuations of soul power. Taihe said, "This person calls himself Ji-in, and he was originally a disciple of the Corpse Demon sect during the Righteous and Evil War. He defected from the Corpse Demon sect. I don't know what methods he used to join your Beastmaster sect. This is Ji-in's soul lamp left behind from the Corpse Demon sect." "A disciple of the Corpse Demon sect." Fang Pengyi exclaimed in surprise. He looked at Fang Pengyi, surprised, and asked impatiently, "What's wrong? What's the matter?" "Wu Sheng is extremely skilled in corpse refining. I always thought it was due to his outstanding talent. I didn't expect he came from the Corpse Demon sect." Fang Pingy replied. Tai he glanced at Fang Pingy and did not show the slightest surprise at the mention of corpse refining. It seemed that refining a few corpses was not an extraordinary matter for the righteous sect. This soul lamp in our hands is still intact, yet you say Ji-in is dead, Tai he questioned. Fang Pingy replied, reporting to the elder, I did not say that this person is dead, I only said his soul lamp has been extinguished. A year ago, this person suddenly went missing and then his soul lamp extinguished. When he fled the sect, he stole a large number of treasures. Our Beastmaster's sect has been investigating this person. Tai he asked, is this person really not from your Beastmaster sect? Fang Pingy affirmed, absolutely true. Since the elder has the soul lamp, you can use secret techniques to investigate. Tai he took the soul lamp from Yan Yiwen and began to perform secret techniques. After about 15 minutes, the flame in the lamp flickered toward the south. The soul fire flickered weakly, almost imperceptibly. A hint of surprise flashed in Tai he's eyes. South. Toward the direction of the endless desert, the flickering of the soul fire is so weak, it's probably not less than 10 million miles away. Mihi, Fang Pingy, and Yan Yiwen all turned to look at him in shock. 10 million miles away. How is this possible? How could he have escaped 10 million miles? Yan Yiwen's mouth opened slightly, her expression filled with disbelief. Tai he said, he probably began fleeing south right after the encounter with you a year ago and has never stopped. Yan Yiwen's hands clenched tightly, veins bulging on her palms. Even when her nails pierced her skin and blood began to flow, she remained oblivious. Her face was filled with unwillingness and anger. How could anyone keep running for an entire year without stopping? Mihi and Fang Pingy also wore shocked expressions. After a moment of silence, Mihi slowly began to speak. This person has a rare determination and resolve in the cultivation world. Moreover, he is quite intelligent. In the endless desert, where spiritual energy is absent, it is an absolute dead zone for us cultivators. Prolonged stays in the endless desert will cause one's cultivation to stagnate or even regress. Moreover, the higher the realm, the more severe the regression. He obviously wants to use the treacherous environment of the endless desert to deter you, Tai he, from pursuing him. A cold smile curled at the corner of Tai he's mouth. To think that a mere desert could block the pursuit of a nascent soul cultivator is simply delusional. Mihi, if you can't send someone from the Beastmaster sect, then our negotiation can only end here. Farewell. After speaking, he took Yan Yiwen and vanished like a streak of light into the horizon. Without obtaining the small teleportation talisman, Mihi felt dejected as she flew back to the Beastmaster sect. Master, are we going to the endless desert to hunt Ji-in? Yan Yiwen asked. Tai he replied, with the distance exceeding 10,000 miles, if I were to travel alone, I could reach it in 2 or 3 days. If I take you with me, it would only waste time. You should wait for me at East Huafeng Market within 10 days. I will definitely capture Ji-in. Yan Yiwen had a treasure bestowed by Tai he that altered her aura and appearance, allowing her to hide safely in East Huafeng Market. Her tone was filled with anger. I can't capture Ji-in myself. I can't witness his despair when he realizes that even after fleeing for a distance, he still can't escape from his doom. My heart is unwilling. Tai he reassured her, don't worry, I will capture him alive for you to deal with. This is to repay you for your family's destruction and to resolve your resentment. Yan Yiwen said, thank you, master, I will listen to your arrangements. The sun blazed like fire, hanging high in the sky. The endless expanse of sand and gravel became scalding under the intense sunlight. A strong wind blew, swirling the yellow sand and sending waves of heat rising. Suddenly, the wind turned fierce, and sand and dust flew up, blocking out the sun. The fierce wind swept up the scorching sand and dust, coming straight at him. Songwon was covered in dirt and grime, his lips cracked, and his skin waxy yellow. He had been traversing the endless desert for 10 days, traveling over 200,000 miles deep into the desert. The endless desert was indeed a forbidden zone for life. Within the desert, there was no spiritual energy. Apart from the endless sand and gravel, it seemed there was nothing else to be seen. During this time of fleeing, he worked tirelessly. Not daring to let his guard down for a moment, as he progressed, he noticed that the farther south he went, the thinner the spiritual energy became, the rarer cultivators were, and the cultivation levels of those cultivators also dropped. In the border areas of the endless desert, not to mention cultivators, even mundane martial artists were extremely scarce. In these areas, cultivators had long since become legends. Because of this, these ordinary people were rarely disturbed by cultivators. allowing them to thrive and reproduce, resulting in a vast population of common folk. While in the Beastmaster sect, Songwon had read many texts about the Endless Desert. The Endless Desert was not entirely a dead zone. Scattered throughout the desert were some oases. In these oases, there were not only water sources and vegetation but also lingering spiritual energy. Thus, oases produced unique demon beasts and spirit herbs found only in the Endless Desert. Songwon had once used a spirit herb called silver horn grass to help a sacred goo break through from the first stage to the second stage. It originated from the Endless Desert. The silver horn grass was discovered by an elder of the Beastmaster sect, who brought it back to the sect and cultivated it carefully, allowing it to be widely used within the Beastmaster sect.